even though most other states' economies are contracting. Since I took office, we've announced more than 1,300 private sector new location and expansion projects. They total a record $45 billion of new investment in us and our families, and they've created roughly 68,000 new jobs, with last year being our highest average incentivized wage in our history at almost $30 an hour. And that momentum is leading to exciting updates from across the Commonwealth. Today, we're highlighting growth in Kentucky's food and beverage industry, with Marfo FMA announcing plans to build a new production facility in Covington. The investment totals more than $37 million, which is going to create 78 new highly skilled positions. They include production staff, logistics managers, and machine specialists. The facility will be focusing on developing and producing high-quality meals specifically designed for airlines. This announcement is a great reminder that Team Kentucky's economic momentum is not only here to stay, but that the Commonwealth is open for business for companies from all over the world that want to establish their new Kentucky home. This project is the company's first production facility in the United States, and it comes after I met with their parent company in Europe this October. That means that trip alone has brought in these 78 jobs, plus the 400 new jobs coming to Glasgow from Tate. That's why we take the trips, because on them we secure investments like this that may take a little while to announce, but mean that 478 Kentucky families just from that trip alone now have a solid job on which they can put food on the table. Folks, when we show up, it makes a difference. These meetings we have with international partners turn into real investments and real jobs for our people. It's why our economic trade missions are so essential to our success as a state. And we're going to keep working to ensure these wins keep coming. I want to thank the company leadership from Marfo FMA for choosing and believing in our great state. And if you're on an airline and you're getting a meal, it may well be made in Kentucky. This week, we also highlighted growth in our state's speed to market and site development efforts when we announced 2 new build-ready sites in Lincoln County. These are hugely important projects that prepare communities for future investment, economic growth, and job creation. Both build-ready sites located in the Lincoln-Rowland Industrial Park add to the state's growing list of properties certified as build-ready. Site 1 offers 15 acres of available shovel-ready land with the capacity to locate a 100,000 square foot building. Site 2 includes up to 18 acres with similar potential to locate a building. The continued investment in our speed-to-market programs are helping position communities across the Commonwealth for future economic growth and success. More important, it lays the groundwork for companies to locate here in Kentucky, bringing with them good quality job opportunities. Our site development opportunities are even more important because of the success we've had. Every time we announce a new company, they're going on one of these various sites. And that means we have one less for the next company. So we got to keep putting in the work if we want to keep leading this country in economic development, which is our next announcement. We received some really great news from Site Selection Magazine for our state and local communities. On Tuesday, we announced that Kentucky has secured its place in top 5 for economic development projects per capita in the 2025 Site Selection Magazine's annual Governor's Cup rankings. That means they rank us 5th in the entire country in economic development per capita. I'm proud to say this is the 6th consecutive year, every year that I've been governor, that we have been top 5 in the country. That is something for all of us to be really proud of. Northern Kentucky, Louisville, Lexington, and Bowling Green were all recognized as top metros. And Kentucky also ranked 2nd in the entire country in the number of micropolitan areas that are represented in these rankings. That means not just our big cities, but our mid-sized cities and towns are knocking it out of the park in terms of economic development. The 13 communities represented include Franklin, Glasgow, community's first ever top 10 ranking, Richmond Berea, Campbellsville, Frankfort, 2nd straight year, Corbin, Danville, Henderson, Madisonville, Mayfield, Mount Sterling, Somerset, and the Union City, Tennessee area, which includes Fulton County, Kentucky. 2025 was the second best year on record for new private sector investment in Kentucky. And this Governor's Cup ranking further highlights what a good year we had. This is a well-deserved recognition for our state and for all our communities out there. So congratulations to everyone. Economic development is a team sport that we're winning, and let's make sure we remain unified, recognizing that a good job isn't Democrat or Republican, it ain't red or blue, it's just really good for a family. Kentucky, we continue to make progress to provide safe medical cannabis to eligible Kentuckians across the Commonwealth. To date, the Office of Medical Cannabis has 519 registered practitioners and 19,726 approved patient card applications. That is an increase of 2,000 approved applications since last month. We've also seen growth on the business side of the rollout. Kentucky now has 19 operational licensed medical cannabis businesses. Since our last update, 3 additional cultivators, those are the ones that grow the medical cannabis, have been approved to operate. They include L&O Legacies in Jessamine County, Bend State in Lincoln County, and Slaughter Branch in Hopkins County. And on February 20th, Speakeasy Dispensary in Hopkins County opened its doors to serve patients. That is the 8th dispensary to open across the Commonwealth. 3 additional licensees are currently in the inspection process, and we expect the momentum to continue in the coming weeks as more businesses prepare to come online. To see the most up-to-date list of open dispensaries and learn how to apply for a medical cannabis card, visit kymedcan.ky.gov. All right, this week is also National Consumer Protection Week. Since taking office, first as Attorney General and now as Governor, one of my top priorities has been protecting Kentuckians. That work has included uncovering scams and prosecuting scammers. There are always new and evolving scams, and they're getting more sophisticated. They target people of all ages, and they hurt our fellow Kentuckians. According to a 2024 FBI report, Kentuckians are losing more than $74 million each year to scammers. That's not just a statistic. It is hard-earned savings. It's rent, groceries, tuition, and retirement funds lost to criminals. And that's just the scams that get reported. We know the real impact is much bigger. Today, we're announcing a new partnership through the Stop Scams Initiative with the Kentucky State Police. Our law enforcement officers are committed to making our Kentucky communities safer, and that includes tracking down scammers and help bring them to justice. We have our Public Protection Cabinet Secretary Ray Perry and KSP Trooper Scotty Sharp with us today. Secretary Perry, would you tell us more about this partnership?
Thank you, Governor. I'm happy to be back with you today during Consumer Protection Week to talk about Stop Scams. It's fitting because this program grew out of the Public Protection Cabinet, specifically the Kentucky Department of Insurance and the Department of Financial Institutions. In addition to the regular work of these agencies, it became clear there needed to be one source of information about scams to protect more Kentuckians. And stopscams.ky.gov is the one-stop spot to get the latest trustworthy information available when you need it. In the last few months, we've talked to groups all over the state about avoiding scams, and we're getting reliable, actionable information out quickly through our scam alerts and monthly newsletters to subscribers. I'm happy to see this program grow and reach more people with important information. And I want to thank our friends at the Justice Cabinet and the Kentucky State Police. Where is he? There's Trooper Sharp. Thank you. And with this partnership, we can reach even more Kentuckians and, importantly, bring scammers to justice. Thank you.
This partnership will allow us to quickly target scams, protect more Kentuckians through education, and investigate and arrest criminals. We can also help those who've been scammed with recovering their resources when possible. This is building on our previous work to stop scams. Last year, we launched the Stop Scams website, a one-stop resource from Team Kentucky for tips to spot scams, ways to report scams, and resources for recovering what's lost. At this website, you can also sign up for a text or email alert on emerging scams, and you can also receive an email newsletter about trending scams. Since our launch last August, more than 30,000 subscribers are receiving Stop Scams text and email alerts, and the initiative has reached thousands of more through educational events across the state. Thank you to the Better Business Bureau and AARP Kentucky for joining us at many of these events. They share in this mission with their own programs. No matter the method, there are some simple tips to stay safe. First, pause before taking action. Many of these scams try to get you riled up through fear or excitement. Fear, the police are going to come and arrest you if you don't pay a traffic ticket over the phone, or that you missed jury duty. Excitement, you've won a lottery. We all got those, right? We've all received those in time. But you'll only get the money if you pay a certain amount within the next X number of minutes. So pause, right? Let your endorphins go down. Let your brain click on a little bit. Most of the time when it sounds too good to be true, it is. Number two, check that the information you receive is accurate and legitimate. And three, protect your personal data. Let's protect ourselves and our neighbors. To learn more, visit the new website at stopscams.ky.gov. All right, next, we're highlighting some projects that are making Kentuckians safer. The winter storm that we just got through marked Kentucky's 15th federally declared weather disaster in the last 6 years alone. Unfortunately, we're getting pretty good at responding to severe weather, but our response doesn't end when the disaster is over. We need to clean up and rebuild. And we do that work to make sure our people and our communities are safer from future weather events like flooding. This last event meant responding to snow and ice, but 20 of the last 24 federally declared disasters in Kentucky were caused by flooding. Over 80% of communities in Kentucky are in a floodplain. That raises insurance prices and costs the state a lot of money. I know that we'll never forget a number of these floods. Certainly the floods of 2022 took 45 Kentuckians. Now, that level of devastation doesn't happen, yet it hit here, and census hit Texas and other places. Homes and communities were swept away. So many families, hundreds, lost everything. In East Kentucky, we're seeing incredible progress in our 8 high ground communities. And today, Lieutenant Governor Coleman is in Floyd County celebrating the completion of 2 homes at New Hope Estates. So we're celebrating progress, and we're working to build on the work already done to protect even more people. One way we're doing that is by helping Kentuckians move away from flood-prone areas. This can be very expensive, but through FEMA's voluntary property buyout program, we've helped hundreds of families. Over $118 million has now been provided to Kentucky families to move out of that flood zone to somewhere safer. Nearly 600 homeowners in 6 counties have been able to use those dollars to relocate to higher ground. Team Kentucky's also been working with nonprofits and local governments across the state to address flooding. In Whitesburg, which was hit hard in 2022, Team Kentucky awarded over $258,000 to the Cowan Community Action Group. These funds help supply rain barrels around town and allow the organization to lead workshops on creekside plantings and other stormwater collection tools. That's in addition to the cottages of Thompson Branch in that same county that's completed just outside of Whitesburg. That is a high ground community, as well as progress at the Grandview site, which has taken us longer because it's a really big site right above Jenkins. We have a video from Valerie Horn of the Community Action Group.
Today, we're at Crafts Collie Creek, a second-order headwater stream that flows into the North Fork of the Kentucky River in Letcher County with Cowan Community Action Group's Source Initiative, sustaining our United Regenerative Community efforts. This work is supported through a Section 319 Division of Water grant focused on watershed stewardship in our region. Source brings neighbors together to share practical ways people can care for the places we call home. We are installing a rain barrel with community member Marie Triplett Pratt, whose property was impacted by the devastating flood of 2022. Rain barrels like these collect water from rooftops and store it for later use, helping slow stormwater runoff while providing water for gardens and landscaping. Marie's rain barrel features prints from her favorite artist, a small way to bring a little joy to a place connected to difficult memories.
In Northern Kentucky, we awarded $958,334 to hire a watershed coordinator. This position is helping the community reduce water pollution and make watershed improvements. In Mount Sterling, we awarded $340,000 for the Hinkston Creek project. That project will direct floodwater away from populated areas. The project is on schedule and is expected to be completed within 2 years. And in Louisville, we awarded $200,000 to reduce flooding in the Middle Fork Beargrass Creek area. By installing tree boxes, we're managing stormwater. The team has completed draft designs and is working with that community to select sites. Installation of the tree boxes is planned for 2027. Every one of us can make a difference. There are resources out there to help. If you're concerned about flooding, talk with your local leaders or your area development districts about what can be done to prevent future problems. And remember, we here at Team Kentucky are always ready to help. Okay, this week, we're taking time to recognize Kentucky's school social workers. These social workers see our kids during their toughest of moments. They know better than anyone the challenges that Kentucky families currently face. They're working alongside our teachers and school administrators every single day to create the most positive environment in our schools. They look out for our children and they connect them to resources to help them thrive. It's tougher than ever to be a kid right now. But through their work, our social workers serve the lost, the lonely, and the left behind. That is really important work, and I want to personally thank all of them for what they do on a daily basis. For far too long, our school social workers have not been valued like the lifeline that they are, which is why I've constantly pushed for pay raises for all of our educators. We've also worked to secure several raises for our state social workers, including an immediate 10% pay increase that we announced in 2021, getting them just a little closer to what they deserve. Today, I'm proud to recognize our school social workers and their work to give every Kentucky child a chance by proclaiming March 2nd through the 6th as School Social Work Week in Kentucky. Today, we're joined by some special guests from the Kentucky Association for School Social Work. Would you all please join us so that we can present the proclamation? You just got to get around winning. Who would like to accept it? Okay. Do we want to get half over here? We'll get a good picture. Oh. Here we go. Perfect. Well, let's step up. Thank you. Sure.
Okay.
If I can grab the water first.
Yes.
Deal.
I'm Dr. Tish Brookins, and on behalf of the Kentucky Association for School Social Work, we want to thank you, Governor Andy Beshear, for recognizing the hard work that our school social workers do across the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We are ambassadors of hope, and we thank you for being our ambassador. And this morning, we were at a different event, and someone sang a beautiful song, and it said, if I can just help one, my living will not be in vain. And Governor Beshear, your living has not been in vain. And school social workers, your living has not been in vain. Happy School Social Work Week.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Y'all are amazing. Thank you. Our school social workers are the best of us. They certainly don't do it for the money. They're living out their faith, their values. They're trying to serve all of our children out there. And think about how many children are going through trauma, maybe don't have their needs being met. And it's that school social worker that steps in and helps out. So God bless all of you. Also, that first event this morning was the Kappa Alpha Day here at the state capitol. I also want to thank all the members of that organization for your leadership over these decades. Okay, today we are also shining a light on Colon Cancer Awareness Month. Colon cancer is the third most common cancer diagnosed in the United States and the second leading cause of cancer-related death among men and women combined. It is a serious disease that has sadly affected far too many Kentuckians. But getting checked early saves lives. Think about this. For the number 2 leading cause of cancer deaths among men and women, 60% of the deaths can be avoided through regular screenings. That means that there are a lot of people's family members that can be saved, a lot of trauma that can be avoided, families not having to grieve loved ones that they wish they just had a little more time with. The new recommended age to get your screening is 45 years old. I think that changed from 50 when I turned 45 years old, but it's important. This is your life. Do not put it off. And remember, Team Kentucky is here to help. If you have questions about setting up your next screening, reach out to the great folks at the Kentucky Colon Cancer Screening Program. This program was established under my dad, Steve Beshear, who is a cancer survivor himself. It provides qualifying Kentuckians access to high-quality colon cancer screening services. Last year, I was able to help build off of these efforts by signing legislation that requires health insurance plans to cover colonoscopies and other exams that help detect colon cancer. Healthcare is a basic human right, and that is why Team Kentucky is going to continue on working to expand access to the services that you need. It's why my administration worked to rebuild Connect, our state-run healthcare exchange, leading to nearly 100,000 Kentuckians enrolling last year. It's why we work to help open or break ground new hospitals and clinics all over the Commonwealth, including the first hospital in West Louisville in 150 years. And it's why my budget pushes back against the harmful federal cuts to Medicaid that could decimate rural healthcare and rural economies. So remember, we're in this together. We have your back, but please take care of yourself and get screened. With that, I want to thank all the great advocates from the Colon Cancer Prevention Project that are with us today. Please come on up, and I'm proud to present the proclamation for Colon Cancer Awareness Month. We'll do this one by standing to the side. Probably work. Great. Looking over there. All right. Anybody want to say a word?
Oh, is it okay if I?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Misty Rono from the Colon Cancer Prevention Project. I actually just wanted to take this time to say that colon cancer, colorectal cancer is now the #1 leading cause of death for both men and women under 50 related to cancer. So the time frame has been moved up. We need to treat this with much more urgency. So please, if you're having any symptoms or family history, please speak to your doctor right away.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank each of them for that update. So the #1 cause of cancer for men, a cause of cancer-related death for men and women under 50, and 60% of it can be prevented. That means talk to your friends, your family members. When your friend turns 45, break the news. They need to be doing this. We care about everybody here in Kentucky and around this country. Please get screened. With that, we have somebody else who helps take care of us and our healthcare needs, Dr. Stack, to share this month's goal for our Healthy Kentucky Home.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, Team Kentucky. So during the second year of the Our Healthy Kentucky Home campaign, we continue to provide simple, actionable guidance to help everyone achieve better health and wellness in the Commonwealth by eating at least 2 servings of fruits or vegetables every day, by exercising for at least 30 minutes 3 times per week, and by engaging with others to stay socially connected. These everyday habits build a strong foundation for good health. Sometimes, though, life throws us curveballs. The governor's already talked about this with the natural disasters we've had in our state. These disrupt our plans and bring unwelcome difficulties and dangers. A healthy Kentucky is one where people are prepared not only for everyday life, but also for the unexpected. Here in Kentucky, we've experienced firsthand these tolls that disasters and emergencies can take on our communities. Floods, tornadoes, winter storms, and severe weather are beyond our control. But while we can't control when emergencies happen, we can control how prepared we are when they arrive. Families can prepare for these disasters by taking concrete steps ahead of time, by building an emergency supply kit with food, water, medications, and first aid supplies, which can make a big difference during an emergency. When choosing food for your kit, picking options that are high in protein and fiber like tuna, nuts, or other shelf-stable snacks can provide energy and essential nutrients when fresh food may not be available. Preparedness also means having a family plan, practicing it together, and staying informed about local risks and alerts. It doesn't have to be a complicated or expensive kit. Small steps taken today, though, can make a big difference tomorrow. But preparedness isn't just about supplies and plans. It's about recognizing that disasters can leave more than physical damage behind. Emergencies can take a serious toll on mental and emotional health. Sometimes long after the headlines fade, feelings of stress, anxiety, grief, or being overwhelmed still prevail and are very common. After a disaster or emergency, struggling to cope is common, but help is available. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline provides free, confidential support 24 hours a day by calling or texting 988 from your phone. And I want to emphasize, you can text 988 and ask for help, and you will get a response. You don't have to be in immediate crisis to reach out either. Sometimes you just need someone to listen. Kentuckians can learn more at 988lifeline.org. Preparedness also depends on strong systems and trusted partnerships working together. And here in Kentucky, we have some of the best resources, teams, and partnerships around. One of these resources is Kentucky Emergency Management, or KYEM, which, here we go. KYEM works with local, state, and federal partners to protect Kentuckians and their communities before, during, and after emergencies occur by helping communities prepare through advanced planning, training responders, coordinating resources, and ensuring local leaders have what they need before emergencies happen. KYEM works to ensure that no Kentuckian faces a disaster alone. Please follow KYEM on Facebook, where you can stay up to date with what is happening around Kentucky. Give KYEM a follow today at facebook.com/KentuckyEM. And another great resource available across the Commonwealth is the Kentucky Medical Reserve Corps, or MRC. The Medical Reserve Corps brings together trained medical and non-medical, and I want to emphasize it's both medical and non-medical. You don't have to be a healthcare provider, who serve their own communities during emergencies, offering care, support, and reassurance when it's needed most. In just the past year, over 60 MRC volunteers contributed more than 1,200 hours during disaster events across the country. Open to everyone, regardless of experience, the MRC helps build a healthier, more resilient Kentucky. To get involved or learn more, please visit KentuckyHelps.com. And just to clean that up, it was 1,200 hours just in Kentucky, not the country. And KentuckyHelps.com is where you can learn more and sign up to be a volunteer. At the heart of our Healthy Kentucky Home is the understanding that being prepared strengthens health. When families plan ahead, when communities train together, and when support systems are ready, we reduce harm, protect lives, and recover faster. So to learn more about how you can prepare for disasters or emergencies, or to learn more about the preparedness resources available to you, please be sure to visit the Our Healthy Kentucky Home website at ourhealthykyhome.ky.gov. Please join us in the Our Healthy Kentucky Home journey today as we work together to ensure that every Kentuckian achieves better health and wellness. Go.
All right, a few more announcements today. First, we've got a couple of important updates for anyone who plans to file their taxes between April 1st and the April 15th deadline. First, due to federal government changes at the U.S. Postal Service, postmarks may not match the date you drop off your mail. There are a few things you can do to make sure your tax returns are still marked on time to avoid penalties or interest. First, you can file electronically to avoid any concern about it at all. In general, we encourage electronic filing because you'll get your refunds faster. You can also mail early, at least a few days before the deadline. You can request a manual postmark at the post office, or you can use certified or registered mail for proof of mailing. The second update is that starting on April 1, the Department of Revenue is adding a new national requirement for fraud prevention. To receive your refund by direct deposit, your name on your tax return or your tax refund application must match the name on your bank account. Otherwise, a paper check will be mailed. So if Andrew is on one of mine, but Andy is on the other, they could not, under this new tool from the for fraud prevention, which is a requirement from the federal government, do a direct deposit. Taxpayers and businesses should review their name and bank account information prior to filing their tax returns to avoid delays. We're sharing this information because the world's already tough enough. Affording what you need is already challenging enough. And we don't want people to go through the stress of what might happen if they can't get that direct deposit refund or are wondering where it is. We're staying laser focused on helping to bring down costs for Kentucky families Remember, we've lowered the property tax rate for 5 consecutive years. We've lowered income taxes. At different times, we've frozen property taxes on vehicles, frozen the gas tax, and helped Kentuckians save more money through the homestead tax exemption. We're going to keep looking for ways to help in the future, but we want you to avoid any hiccups with filing your taxes this year. It would not be a Team Kentucky update without a weather update. We're getting a lot of rain this week. In fact, there was a flood watch in effect for areas in the northwestern part of this state this morning. Because of repeated rounds of rain and thunderstorms today, runoff may result in the flooding of rivers, creeks, streams, and other flood-prone areas. We need folks to stay alert, especially those that are driving. If you see high water, please turn around. These heavy showers are going to continue over the next 6 to 10 days. There is a 60 to 70% chance for above normal precipitation through March 13th across the Ohio Valley. Multiple rounds of thunderstorms are possible, and they could be strong to severe. The amount of rain will increase the potential for flooding. Folks in flood-prone areas need to have your alerts on. Make sure to stay weather aware, be really cautious when you're driving, and make sure you've created that emergency kit. We'll keep sharing updates as available, and let's do everything we can to keep each other safe. And finally, I'm excited to announce that 4 more communities are now certified as recovery-ready communities. That ensures addiction treatment and resources are now available to nearly half of Kentucky's population in the best of practices and the best of ways. Clark, Johnson, Madison, and Mason are the 4 newest counties to receive certifications for providing free recovery resources to more than 176,000 Kentuckians who call these counties home. This brings the total number of recovery-ready communities up to 39. That covers more than 2.1 million Kentuckians. In Clark County, home to nearly 37,000 Kentuckians, the local Kentucky Agency for Substance Abuse Policy Board and the Health Department's Recovery Ready Center each offer support like peer services, recovery meetings, support groups, employment and education assistance, and more to those struggling with addiction. In Johnson County, Appalachian Regional Healthcare's Reverse the Cycle program at the Paintsville Hospital provides peer recovery coaches for individuals upon admission into the emergency department. The Johnson County Public Library also provides the county's more than 22,000 residents with more resources, serving as a one-stop hub while providing youth-oriented services that prevent addiction before it begins. Madison County's Enrich One-Stop Community Resource and Referral Hub is the centerpiece of the county's recovery efforts, providing essential wraparound services to any of the almost 100,000 residents who live in Madison County, if any of them are struggling with addiction. And in Mason County, its 17,000 residents benefit from Comprehen's Reach Outpatient Addiction Treatment Clinic and Welcome Houses Sutton's Landing, which each provide housing and treatment services to those in Mason and the surrounding communities. Today's announcement is another step forward on our path to fighting addiction. We made good progress with 3 straight years of decreases in drug overdose deaths, thank God. And it's because of the steps we've taken together. Steps like the Kentucky State Police seizing more than $18.9 million in drugs in 2025. Last year, I classified dangerous forms of kratom and designer Xanax as Schedule I narcotics, meaning they can't be sold in gas stations and convenience stores. In September, I awarded more than $1.4 million to state and local agencies fighting drug trafficking. We've launched FindNaloxoneNowKY.org and FindMentalHealthNowKY.org. We've launched the 8338KY Help. That's been around for a while. We didn't launch it, but wanting to make sure that people see it because it is a resource, as well as FindHelpNowKY.org. But the vast majority of credit here goes to all the advocates, everybody in the recovery community that has worked decades without seeing us gain ground, that now can see all that hard work is paying off. We appreciate you. I think about our peer support specialists who have gone through the very worst of addiction and could walk away from it, not wanting to look back on such a difficult part of their life, yet they share their experiences. They are vulnerable. They walk back into their trauma to help other people out, and we are grateful for them. All these efforts are saving lives, and I can't emphasize how important it is to have the right care right there in your own community. I believe that's true for healthcare in general, but especially when it comes to helping our citizens overcome addiction. So this week, I want to name these new recovery-ready communities as our Team Kentucky All-Stars. To the leaders and communities of Clark, Johnson, Madison, and Mason County, great work. Congratulations. You all are saving a lot of lives. With that, we have 3 journalists in person and 3 on the line. We'll start with McKenna from the Kentucky Lantern.
I have a question about 2 different constitutional amendments, but they're filed by members of the Republican leadership in the legislature. So the first, from President Cybers, would allow summaries of constitutional amendments to appear on the ballot on a committee hearing this week. And then the second one was filed this week by Speaker Osborne. It will allow the legislature to call themselves in special session. And I was just wondering for
Yeah. So there are 2 constitutional amendments that have been filed that would have to be voted on to go on the ballot. I will start with the one where, as opposed to the governor, the leaders of the General Assembly could call themselves into special session, which of course all their members would be compensated for. Now, Kentucky previously had 1 session every 2 years. They changed that, so now that there is a session every year. One was supposed to be a short session mainly on corrections, but now passes corrections to different laws, but now passes as many bills as the long session. They put a similar constitutional amendment on just years ago, and it was soundly rejected. But how about this? How about they actually use the time that they have? We are 2/3 through this session, and 3 bills have reached my desk. That is 40 of 60 days that if they would use, they wouldn't need to call themselves into session again. But the whole point here is for the taxpayers and for what is supposed to be a deliberative process of passing laws where you spend time when you are out of session looking at it, preparing it, what used to be the pre-filing of bills so people could even discuss the language and know, what type of unforeseen consequences could happen. That'd all be thrown out the window if you could call yourself into session at almost any time and pay yourself for it as well. The second one was, the second one was about constitutional amendments in general. So right now they've got to put the whole amendment, what it would mean, how it would change your Kentucky Constitution. Now they just want to give you a summary, and they want to write that summary. That's keeping information away from people. If they think their constitutional amendments are too long, make shorter constitutional amendments. Or how about not putting 2 on the ballot every 2 years? Our Constitution's pretty important. In the past, it hasn't been amended at the frequency that it's been attempted to be amended. So I always think back on the last time that the General Assembly put that constitutional amendment on the ballot about being able to call themselves into session. And I chuckled a little bit because they said they want to be able to come to Frankfort more. Look at the vote in Franklin County. I think the people disagreed. Phil.
Governor, there is a Senate North resolution filed by Senator Armstrong dealing with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, wanting to do more participation in that. There's also been amendments filed that would remove state funding. How do you feel about that bill and about that amendment?
Well, Dolly Parton's Imagination Library is incredible. It gets our youngest of children books regularly. It encourages parents or caregivers to read to our children, and we know the more you read to young children, the better they start in their educational journey. We have the Dolly Parton Imagination Library in every county in Kentucky, and we have worked from the previous Steve and Jane Beshear administration to make that happen. A lot of work has gone into it. What Senator Armstrong wants to do is to try to find ways to make sure our foster kids and others are included in that, maybe requiring a little extra work because who their caregiver is may change, or the situation they're in may be different. And that's a great thing. It's saying we've got this wonderful program, and how do we make sure it reaches more kids? And then Senator Nemes comes in and says, nope, let's remove all the funding, which will make the system collapse. It's a pretty simple question. Do you want all kids in the Commonwealth to have books regularly sent to them to read or not? I think it's a pretty simple question. Isaiah.
I had a couple questions, Governor, if I may. One has to do with nuclear energy. Today, members of both chambers had a press conference announcing $10 million in grants to different companies to basically bolster Kentucky's nuclear energy infrastructure. How important do you believe nuclear energy is to Kentucky's economic future?
Oh, nuclear energy is going to be critical for us to meet the exponentially growing demand for power. I think we're going to see more of the small modular reactors. Of course, the costs of these are huge, so I want to see what the $10 million would do. I believe that the construction of them is likely going to be pushed by data centers, and so they should be paid for in full, both the construction and new means of production and that full cost of power. To be clear, when a data center comes to us and is looking to come into Kentucky, there are 3 requirements. Number 1, you pay for every cent of your power. Our families are not going to foot the bill for you. And if we stick to that, if the General Assembly sticks to that, they will build out new means of production that will actually have more capacity than may be needed and a chance in the future to stabilize or even bring down power bills. Number 2, they got to pay their fair share of taxes. Because if you're going to take a place that maybe you could put 500 jobs in and you're going to have 80 or 100, what's the advantage? Well, the advantage is it may kick off $2 million a year in property taxes to your school system. And you can provide your children that much better of an education. Teachers could get raises. We could have the best technology in them. Counties would get significant funds too that they could put towards other economic development. But the third is you can't hide behind a developer or speculator. You, the end user, has to come into that community and say, we, the company, are going to be a part. We're going to sponsor different things. So I do believe that nuclear energy is going to be important. I look forward to working with legislators on how we build it out.
Real quick on Iran, we've seen a lot of national figures ask whether they agree with the president's actions. You have posted clearly that you do not. I wanted to ask, is it because he didn't get permission of Congress specifically, or is it because of the action that you don't agree with, the military action?
No, it's that the president owes the people of the United States of America and Congress a clear explanation and justification for the major use of force that has put our troops and people in danger. We've lost 6 American lives, soldiers that were under the command of a Fort Knox unit. Now they were a unit below. They rotate in subunits about every 8 or 9 months. But we've also put at risk people throughout the region without the regular process of putting out the very specific warnings that they need to leave. So here's how I've commented. Number 1, we can all admit that the American military is exceptional. And agree or disagree with the decision maker, we'll always support our troops and pray for their safety. Number 2, this Iranian regime, they're bad guys. They have murdered hundreds of thousands of people. They have sponsored terror. I don't feel bad for them, even as I seek to ask more questions. But to use force, and this president seems to use force first instead of as a last result after diplomacy didn't work, you owe a clear explanation. But the justifications have changed. Marco Rubio put out one that the president disagreed on. The president looked at the camera, called it a war, and then said the phrase regime change, which is incredibly challenging and in many ways what led us to the long-term wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And listen, those are my friends. It's my generation that went to Iraq and Afghanistan for years and came home with scars on the inside and the outside. The American people won't accept that, but we still don't have. What does success look like? How long is it? Because we keep getting different approximations of that. They need to be very specific. They need to be very transparent. This can't be at the whim of a president. It needs to be as a result of careful planning, and we still await that explanation. James? Oh, Keeley? Great.
Hi, Governor. I wanted to ask about Senate Bill A, which would change the Public Safety Commission.
Yeah.
Do you have a comment on the bill or
Yeah, this is another bill where the Republican supermajority takes a board that the governor appoints, and traditionally governors have appointed boards. Why? Because you're the chief magistrate and you are the only constitutional officer that has a duty to faithfully execute the laws. So under the Constitution, if it's not something specific to the Attorney General or the Treasurer, and remember, those are some pretty specific titles, you know, the governor was in charge through the executive branch of making sure that the laws go into effect and that the processes are followed. This creates 2 new PSC members appointed by the Republican auditor instead of this Democratic governor. They never did that while there was a Republican governor. And then it moves and administratively attaches it to the auditor's office, which has no history and background of working with the group whatsoever. I mean, they've done these shenanigans for 6 straight years. This is my 6th session as governor. 4 as Attorney General and a couple of special sessions. I've never seen them try to move something from a Republican office holder to a Democratic office holder, but I've seen them try to move a whole lot in the other direction. The people of Kentucky elected all of us. They expect us to do our jobs, and we should stop with the shenanigans. That's how I really feel. James Pilcher, who was on the line.
Governor, 2 quick questions, both budget education related. First on House Bill 1, which was one of those bills that did get passed very quickly. I know, where do you stand on that? Your lieutenant governor calls it backdoor vouchers. And it also, to your previous point, shifts the administration of that away from the administration into the Secretary of State's office. And then I have another question about the overall budget and teacher raises. So I don't know if you want to answer that first, and then I'll ask my question, or do you want me to ask the second question?
Yeah, I'm reviewing House Bill 1. I don't comment on what I'm going to do with a bill, with rare exceptions, until I take the action, but I'm a 100% pro public education governor. And where and in what state have we seen responsibilities related to education and or tax credits shifted to a Secretary of State? Again, it shows you the shenanigan nature of it. I've used that word twice in one team.
Second is on the overall.
Go ahead.
Sorry. The second one is on the budget overall. Obviously, the House passed it. It includes 2% raises for all state employees, including themselves, but not teachers. I know you asked for 7%. I talked this morning to Chris McDaniel, who heads the Senate Republican, the Senate Finance Committee. He's also opposed to direct raises for teachers. How do you get around this impasse, and what's your stance on this?
You know, throughout the last 4 to 6 years, the General Assembly has provided raises to state workers. They were needed. Has provided raises to the state police. They were needed. Has provided raises to social workers. They were needed. Has provided raises to themselves. I'll let people make up their own minds on that, but have repeatedly refused raises for educators. You know, they will all say teaching or school social work are such noble professions, and then they will actively prevent those same types of raises for happening. The 7% we got to in 2 ways. Number one was a direct mandatory raise, but the second was just keeping a promise that was made to our educators when they agreed to pay part of their salary into a fund until I think it was their health insurance was fully solvent, and we are going to get there in these 2 years. The General Assembly is breaking that promise. They would get that percentage of their salary back in take-home pay. They would each month have more in their salary if the General Assembly would simply keep the promise. But no, they've now said that same amount of money will go somewhere else that wasn't a part of an agreement that the educators, their associations, and the General Assembly previously made. That's a pretty bad bait and switch when it means our teachers are going to have less money in their bank accounts, that everyone in that school building will have less money in their bank accounts. If we value teachers, if we value educators, we need to pay them more, not less. Tom Latek, welcome back.
Thank you, Governor. Good to be back. From what I have read of House Bill 1, it sounds like something that you might be interested in vetoing. If you do veto that measure, the General Assembly will, of course, override it. That being the case, would you consider joining a lawsuit against House Bill 1?
Well, I haven't analyzed it to that degree yet. There are certainly some differences between this and past bills. I think its intent is still to take public dollars and push it to private schools, but it is federal dollars as opposed to state dollars. And so that's something we'll have to fully analyze. And finally, Piper Hansen.
This is piggybacking off of the earlier discussion about the nuclear grant awards announced earlier today. You mentioned that those are to increase power generation for potential data centers. Just curious what you see as being what might happen to Kentucky's economy if we don't have a data center, small or large.
Oh, I think, listen, data centers are going to come to every state around the United States. They are going to be a part of the future. If not, we don't keep pace with China, and there are not just economic concerns about not being competitive. There are significant national security concerns, but that doesn't mean that we just say yes to them. We have to do this right, and it's critical that we get it right. It's critical that we have the types of requirements to where these companies, which are multi-billion-dollar companies or more, are paying their way, that their actions are benefiting our families and not the other way around, that they're going to the right places where they're wanted and where they can make a big difference. And so we've got to be very deliberate about who we say yes to and where. And if done right, I do think that there is a possibility in the power area and in some other areas that they can have some benefits. With that said, AI, whether it comes to Kentucky in data centers or not, is going to change our economy significantly. And that means we've got to start preparing now. We've got to prepare for retraining. We've got to think about what the new industries in the future are and can be. If you look back in our history, the vast majority of people were working on farms. And now it's a tiny percentage of the American population that grows food for everyone else. New industries were created afterwards. Since we know that this is coming in some form or fashion, we've got to be prepared for how can we be on the forefront? How can we in Kentucky be for what's next? Whatever the new Microsoft is going to be after AI has really taken hold, don't we want it to be here in Kentucky? Where are the different areas that are going to produce the most jobs? That Tate announcement that I mentioned earlier, that is 400 jobs making racks for data centers. How do we get in that type of business to ensure that we have good jobs that AI is not going to displace, and that we're at the forefront of what the new jobs that AI might create are going to be? Listen, I'm not pro or con, I'm pragmatic. And my job is to put Kentucky in the best place we can be for what we know is coming. All right. Thank you all for attending this week's Team Kentucky Update. Will we see them next week? We'll be back next week.